There's a lot of dangerous things in our life, things that we need to avoid, or things that can hurt us if we're not careful. But what I'm thinking about most today is those silent killers, so to speak. A friend of mine who had, a family member rather, who had left the gas in the stove on, and gas is filling the house, and they wouldn't have realized it. Like you can't detect it, but these things that can actually hurt us, but they go undetected, they go unnoticed, and that's what makes these kinds of things perhaps the most dangerous things because we can't defend ourselves against them. Right? They're silent killers. In the spiritual life, I think the readings today lift up one of the greatest silent killers of our spiritual life, and I think that is the sin of complacency. First reading began with this line, "Woe to the complacent of Zion." And that word complacent jumped out at me, and how often it is in my own life, I fall into this sin of complacency. I just kind of get lax. I'm not careful. I let the little things slip. And before I know it, I start veering slowly but surely off course till I find myself completely off the road, right? It didn't begin with big things, but it begins with complacency in very little matters. And I think that's true in so many areas of our life, not just spiritually, but in our work, in our relationships, in our families, in our marriages, in our personal life, right? All these things, we get complacent. I quit going to the gym as regularly as I should. I quit eating as well as I know that I need to. And it just kind of snowballs and spirals out of control. A lot of times without us even realizing it, right? Why is it that complacency is such a constant temptation for us? I think it's because we always have the temptation to be self-centered, to be self-focused. I only care about myself. And so when I notice these things, I'm like, well, I deserve a break. I deserve this, right? I'm focused on my needs and providing for myself instead of on others or letting the Lord provide for me. When I become self-centered, complacency like it provides fodder, a feeding ground for it to continue to grow and take root in our life. I think another reason we can get complacent is almost like this almost unnoticed sense of hopelessness, right? I'm struggling with something, it's never going to get better. I'm not really going to grow. And so I quit trying, right? Whenever I lose hope that things can change, I quit striving for it. And when I quit striving, I just quit caring and I become complacent. It's not that I don't know any better. I do know better, but I just don't care. And I quit trying. Nothing's going to make a difference. Why even bother? I don't want to be disappointed again. And so I just get okay. I become like I accept the little things. I accept sins in my life that I don't think ever be able to kick. And I just like give into this sin of complacency that's got like a tinge of despair into it. Like nothing's going to be different. So I just accept this is how it is, right? I think the example of the rich man in the parable that Jesus tells today shows us that, right? He's very clearly only focused on himself. And I was drawn especially to this image of Lazarus at his doorstep. And the rich man, it seems like day after day after day, just ignored him, right? He stepped right over Lazarus and didn't even give him the time of day, right? How often, I was convicted, how often am I like the rich man when I have problems, I have issues, I have things that I know the Lord has asked me to focus on, I don't want to, I don't care about it, and so I just step over the problem, and I step over it, and I ignore it, and I think maybe if I just ignore it long enough, it'll go away, maybe it'll fix itself, maybe someone else will do something about it. I don't have the energy, I don't have the drive, I'm not gonna take the initiative, and I just learn to accept that, like, there's all this imperfection, I mean, I can't do anything about it, so I just become okay with it. I become okay with being complacent. The parable in the gospel gives us a warning, like, where does that kind of complacency end us? Where does the rich man end up? He ends up in hell. That's why complacency is such a silent killer because it kills our soul. When I become okay with sin, when I become okay with not striving for the Lord, not striving for virtue, and not striving for heaven, it ends me up in the other eternal place. I either have heaven or hell, right? And if I'm not striving for one, I'm going to end up in the other. No one just falls into heaven, but people all the time fall into hell. And if I let complacency take root in my heart, Jesus, I think, is trying to warn us and to wake us up today to say, like, this is not what I want for you, right? If you're not careful, this is where you might end up. Look at Lazarus. The sickness kills us. The sickness is in danger of killing Lazarus' family, and he doesn't want them to end up there. And that's why he's taking steps to try, like, all right, we need to warn them. I need to save them because I don't want them to fall into the same trap that I did, right? We should pay attention to that because Jesus does not want us to fall into that same trap too. And I notice what Lazarus tries to do. He says, Father Abraham, send someone to go and warn them so that they don't fall into the same thing. And notice what is said. Like even if someone rises from the dead, that's not going to be enough, right? What is told to the rich man, right? They have Moses, they have the prophets, they have all that they need to recognize what is right in front of them, right? There's a temptation to think, man, if only this problem would go away. If only this thing would happen. If only this person would do that. Whenever they do this, then I'll start striving, right? almost like make excuses and create almost like this perfect scenario. And when all these things fall into place, then I'll be able to take a step forward, right? But in reality, if we're waiting for the perfect time to take a step towards Jesus, for all the other things to kind of fall into place, it's never going to happen. We're going to be waiting. And in the meantime, that sin of complacency is taking deeper and deeper and deeper root in our hearts. What I think Jesus is wanting to speak to us today is that there's no perfect time. There's no like when this happens or if this happens, then I'll take a step forward. The way to take a step forward in our relationship with God and in our faith is today. It's never tomorrow. It is only today. The diet that starts tomorrow is never going to start. The spiritual diet that starts tomorrow is never going to start. The only day to start is today to take a step. And like Abraham tells the rich man, right? They have Moses and the prophets. They have the scriptures. The word of God is longing to speak to each one of us. So today, let's take the step to encounter Jesus in the scriptures. Today, let's take a step to encounter Jesus in the Eucharist. God is desiring to speak to us and to take these steps with us and for us. It's not up to ourselves to have to fix ourselves, right? Jesus wants to be an integral part of that. But it requires me to take the step today, not tomorrow, but today, to open my heart to him, right? To stop stepping over the problems, to stop ignoring them, to stop turning a blind eye, and to stop just learning to accept them, but rather to face them head on. And when I face those difficult situations in my life head on, almost always, I can promise you, we'll find not just misery and despair, but we'll find Jesus waiting for us. He doesn't wait for us in an ideal world. He waits for us in the mess of our life, and it is only in the mess of our life that I'm going to encounter him. If I keep trying to avoid it, what I'm doing is avoiding where Jesus is waiting for me. So today, this is the invitation and this is the opportunity to encounter Jesus, to not wait, to not let complacency rule for a single day longer, but to take a step forward today, because his desire is that none of us go to hell, but that every single one of us enter into heaven where he created us to be. He wants to bring us there. It just requires us to take a step. So let's take that step today.